Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. Today I have for you a layout process video with a bit of a small tutorial in the beginning. So let's go ahead and do that tutorial first. In a recent video, I talked about how I sometimes like to make my own kind of fancy enamel dots. So that's what we're going to do today. And the process is really pretty simple. I choose a couple of small sized punches and some interesting pattern papers. And then I'm going to punch out a bunch of shapes. Sometimes I'll even use the packaging from products if it has an interesting pattern on it. And then I just punch out all these little shapes and then I will put them down on some kind of non-stick surface. And as an extra step, I will sometimes add an extra layer of cardstock behind them just to make them a little more sturdy. Once I have everything glued together, I'm going to top them with a coat of these Crystal Nouveau drops. And this is just a clear, glossy product. And there are other products on the market. You could try various things, but this is the one that I've been enjoying the most lately. So I will stick all of these little bits down to my mat so they can't slip and slide around me because they are so tiny. There's not really a good place to hold on to them while you're putting that drop on. And then I let them dry for at least 24 hours, preferably 48 hours, because sometimes the Nouveau products can remain tacky for a long time. And then they're ready to go, and you can see some of the shine, despite the glare in my video, you can see some of the shine you get on these homemade enamel dots. So today I'm going to do a layout based on the Layout a Day challenge, and that is a daily scrapbooking challenge that has some prompts, and you can use the prompts or not. Today I'm deciding to use the prompt, and here is what our prompt is. It's all about the number 7 being lucky, and so talking about a story that makes you feel lucky and using things in sevens. So I am going to pull out this sheet of painted paper that I created in a video on Sunday. And if you haven't seen any of the videos I mentioned, the links for everything will definitely be in the video description so you can find links to whatever I'm talking about. I also have my Counterfeit Kit here that I'm going to be working with, and that painted paper I made for this kit specifically. And that paper is very bold. I don't use that kind of color palette. So I'm going to show you what I do when I have a piece of paper that is really too much for me. So I'm going to start with this calmer piece of blue paper. So that's one of the things I do. And then that artsy paper is going to be my background, which actually is a bit busier than stuff that I usually do also. But I'm going to calm it down by using a big block of pattern paper, just this calm blue, to mat my photos. And I will even mat that piece with yet another piece, and we'll get to that. So with my first mat ready to go, I'm going to try and figure out the placement on this paper. I had wanted a little bit of that specific pattern to show through, and it's just not going to work. So I need to let that idea go and move on to other ideas. Now, in matting these photos, I knew I wanted to leave the center space open to be the holding point for my title and most of my embellishments. Oh, and there my mat was a little bit bigger than I wanted it to be, and now that the edges are even, that makes me happier. So that middle section is going to hold my title, like I said. But before I do that, here I am moving on to the second mat. So that is a darker blue pattern that has more weight to it, that's going to help ground everything down in this array of busyness that's going on. That is a kind of a confetti print, and it does have a bunch of colors in it, so those little pops of colors that you will see around the edge help tie everything together as well. Now, I did go ahead and gut that paper because I don't have a lot of paper in my kit this month, so I want to make as much use as I can. So there we are, back to that bold paper, and here is what I do when a paper is just too overwhelming for me. I use it in really small doses, and here that's a 1/4 inch strip of that bold pattern paper. And even out of that, I'm going to cut it down just a little bit because I don't want it to go all the way across my page. And I cut it in a spot where I'm going to overlap the colors that I feel don't need to be showing on this. And then because this challenge is all about sevens, I'm going to work a lot of my embellishments and my journaling in the number 7s, and it's going to involve a lot of these little tickets. So I'm going to cut all these apart, And I'm going to, first of all, start with this kind of tag banner that is going to be underneath my title. And I am looking for an array of colors that will kind of go along the line of that bold piece. And then once I have enough of those cut out, you can notice that little blue piece was a bit short, and I'm going to use that idea and roll with it and kind of vary the length of all of those little tags. And in between those little tags, I'm going to intersperse my homemade enamel dots so that it adds some interest to that little banner section. Because I didn't have the colors and the stars that I wanted, I did go ahead and pull out some stars and add in some butterflies, and then I will continue with adding stars and butterflies to my layout later. So here I am building up my title, and I am sticking all my letters onto my little title builder plastic just to make sure it's going to fit on this little cut apart piece from this Pink Crush Studio paper, and it does. So I go ahead and get everything in place, and then the rest of the part of the title wasn't fitting quite as well, so I put that on my little plastic holder and set it aside as my brain processes what I want to do about that. So I pull my layout back, and I am ready to start building all of these things together. So I get my matted photos stuck down. I am figuring out the placement of my title so that I have room for those banners to work. And I was worried about the banners running into our faces in the photo, and I thought about whether I should go ahead and reprint the photos in a smaller size. And then I decided, nope, I'm just going to make these banners kind of frame around our heads in the photo, and I'm going to make it work. So I am putting these little ticket banner pieces onto this strip and kind of matching up the colors as I go. I will trim off those bits on the top in a moment. Well, I got to it right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and use those little bits around my top photo, and don't throw them away. I'm going to use them up. And then I'm ready to stick my banner on there. Get my title down, and then my banner goes down, and our faces are still visible, nothing covered up. And then the rest of my subtitle can fit in that gap there. Now that all of that is ready to go, I am pulling back my enamel dots to get those stuck down, and I decided I wanted those to have a little more emphasis, so I am going to go ahead and pop them up on some foam dots and help them stand out more. Because I did color coordinate all the colors, they were blending in a little bit, so giving them a bit of foam dot helps. And then I'm finishing up those little banners around my upper photo, and I'm going to add in more stars. So now I have a total of 7 star enamels on my layout, which fits with the prompt that I was going for. And now I am turning to my journaling. And so what I'm going to do is create 7 journaling spots using those tickets. And I pulled back in that bold painted paper again, because what I'm going to do is punch circles out of that bold paper, and I'm going to kind of contrast them with the colors of the journaling tags, and I'm going to create this flow of journaling that goes diagonally across the page, and that will be my 7 spots of journaling. So here I am with all my words back, and I'm getting everything stuck down in a way that I like the flow. And then I decided I wanted to add a little bit of stamping, so I pulled out my favorite Versamark ink, or VersaFine ink, sorry. And then I have this little star stamp in my kit this time around, and I am doing some star stamping around each of those journaling spots in various tones. So I've got 2nd gen stamping on there for a lighter look and a darker look. And then I like how all that goes. I thought about adding more stamping, but it was getting a little bit busy, so I decided enough is enough. And so I'm just going to finish everything off with a little bit of doodle journaling that I like to do, and then a few more enamel dots to go with each little journaling spot. And then I realized I had 7 stars, but not 7 butterflies on my layout. So I did go ahead and grab 4 more butterflies, and I'm going to have them literally aim in the direction of the journal reading. So that will finish off the journaling. And then a final bit that I add to my layout is the date, sometimes a date stamp or hand dated. And then this is something I've talked about in a previous video. I keep these journaling notes for my kids, and I add them to the back of my scrapbook layouts because I store them away in chronological order, and each of these journaling pages goes for each month of the year. And so at the beginning of each month, I add these little journal pages to the back side in a little created pocket of their scrapbooks, and then I have this extra bit of story that goes along with their lives. And if you want more details on that, I will leave a link for you to the video where I explain that process a lot more. So that finishes off my layout for the day. I hope you got some tips here about using overwhelming patterns and just some fun of using some challenges to create your projects, as well as making those homemade enamel dots. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them for me because I will get back to you. And if you could give my video a like, that does help the YouTube algorithm, and I appreciate it very much. And I will be back on Friday with another process video, so I will see you then.